Parashat Beshalach. It's my bar mitzvah parasha, so know it quite well. But let's jump right to the last bit of the Sedra. The sea is split. They've complained for food, and we've complained for water, and then complained for water again. But eventually, Vayava Amalek, Amalekites come, Vayilachem im Yisrael b'Refidim, and they attack the Jewish people whilst they're in Refidim. What's going on in the story? Well, there are different ways to read the story, but one very convincing approach that the people had complained to Moshe for water. Moshe had completely freaked out. The people were threatening to kill him, to stone him. Hashem says, take the elders and go to Chorev, otherwise known as Mount Sinai. Hit the rock, water will flow, and you'll be able to give water to your people. The people are in Refidim. They have to walk to Refidim, get the water. And whilst most of the strong, able-bodied people have gone to get water, along comes Amalek and attacks the stragglers, the weak, probably those who are ill from thirst, the most vulnerable people. We jump to the parallel story in the Parashat Kitetse, right at the end of the Mafte for Shabbat Zachor, where we read about Zachor. You have to remember the special mitzvah to remember Amalek. Amalek came, but derech, when you were on the journey from Refidim to Chorev to Mount Sinai to get the water. Then they attacked when you were journeying, so you were vulnerable. V'lo Yirei Elokim, they weren't God-fearers. Now, who is Yirei Elokim? Who are the people that are referred to as not fearing God? You could read it as a Jewish people, that they were punished by an attack because they had a lack of faith in Hashem, let the side down spiritually. But you can also read that with those words, as does the Ibn Ezra, as referring to the Amalekites. They weren't Yirei Elokim. What is a Yirei Elokim? Well, Abraham says, back in his stories to Avimelech, I had to tell you she's my sister, because ain't Yirat Elokim. There was no fear of God here. In this place, you would kill a stranger to take his wife. On the other hand, Yosef says to his brothers, I am a Yirei Elokim. I do fear God. So this concept of fearing God or not fearing God, describes a person whose morals are so evil and so corrupt that they would attack a stranger and take his wife. They have no problem attacking women and children. And that's Amalek. Yes, there was a genetic component to Amalek in those early stories. They were a nation that attacked our nation. But now it's a generic concept of those that come into the world to attack the weakest, who undermine the values of society. How do you defeat Amalek? Well, the king of Israel eventually is commanded, when he takes up the throne of the Jewish people, to get rid of Amalek. The king of Israel is meant to be the person who stands up for tzedek or mishpat. The more righteous, the more just, the more fair we are in our national identity. And the embodiment of that is the king of Israel, who represents the nation and the national values. We defeat Amalek that way. So whilst we don't defeat Amalek anymore by the sword, we don't know who they are. But the ideology that attacks the most vulnerable, and we've seen that in our time, tragically seen that in our time. To think October the 7th, and you've got Amalek right there attacking Ayef, V'Yager, the Holocaust survivors, the women, the children, the vulnerable. The way we defeat this evil of Amalek is to make sure we as a collective are the most ethical and moral and just society that we can possibly be. And when we see an erosion of that, that's the power of Amalek. And when we can defeat it and be the very best chosen nation, spreading this concept around the whole world, then we rise up as Am Yisrael, defeating the enemy of Amalek. Shabbat Shalom.